What if, let's just pretend for a minute this morning, what if I could give you this morning a treasure map? And the treasure map, if you would follow it, you would be guaranteed to find treasure. How much treasure? Well, enough to pay off all of your debts, including your mortgage. Enough to pay your kids' college or college loans. Enough for you to be able to retire right now and live a lifestyle at least one peg ahead of where you're currently living. And you would be able to leave a significant inheritance to every one of your children. Now, if I could give you a treasure map and you could find a treasure like that, how many of you would follow the map to get the treasure? How many of you would say, I do that? Yeah, okay, all right, now, wait. But what if it was inconvenient? What if it was a little bit time-consuming? What if it involved taking some risks and venturing into a little bit of uncertainty? I mean, if that were involved, how many of you would say, no, I'm still going to go ahead and follow the map so I can find the treasure? I'm going to say, I'm still in. Yeah, most of you are still in. Well, guess what? I do not have such a map. Don't have it. I have a better one. See, what if I could provide you with a different kind of treasure map? One that, yes, involves a little bit of risk. Yes, it might be a little bit inconvenient. Yes, it might require doing some hard and uncomfortable things. But if you would follow this map, you would be guaranteed to find a different kind of treasure. You would find significance. You would find the key to an extraordinary life. You would find something that would enable you to live your life in such a way that you would leave a righteous and lasting impact in your world, in your family, in your neighborhood, in your church, in your community, in your workplace, and even in other places around the world. With this treasure, you would be able to leave a lasting legacy to your children in the next generation that would light the way to the best life. How about that kind of treasure? See, there is such a treasure, and it is real. And God wants every one of us to go on that kind of treasure hunt. And what is this treasure that God wants us to search out and find? The answer is talent. Let me be more specific. Our innate, God-given talent. Because if we could somehow discover our true, innate, God-given talent, we would possess the keys to living an extraordinary life. That no matter how ordinary we may look on the outside, under the surface, we are extraordinary in our impact. We may look small, but we would cast a big shadow, and we would impact people significantly and eternally in a beneficial way. See, I know what happens. When we hear the word talent, we think of things that I'm not meaning this morning. See, often when we hear the word talent, we think of physical talent, right? Like a singer can sing, a musician can play an instrument, or an athlete can play a game. I'm not talking about that kind of physical ability. Or sometimes we think about mental aptitude. Man, you're really good at math. Or you have a great memory. I'm not talking about those kinds of aptitudes. I'm actually talking, when I refer to this morning about innate God-given talent, I'm actually referring to something that is deeper, far more common. I'm referring to something that is not just simply for an elite few, not something that is easily observed, but something that every single one of us possesses. And that when we understand it and tap into it, we can have a greater impact in our world than all of the musicians and athletes and mental geniuses combined. Anybody here know who Warren Buffett is? The financial guy, you know? Yeah, he's somewhere usually in the top 1, 2, 3 wealthiest guys in the world, how he gets ranked. Let's see, last year he was number 2. His fortune went down. I don't know how he's living. He's only worth about $40 billion. Poor guy. Maybe we should collect it off. I don't know. But he was giving one day a talk to a bunch of business students at the University of Nebraska. And one of the students said, you know, what really makes you unique? What really makes you successful? And Warren Buffett says, really, there's not very much difference between you and me. And of course, here are the students that can't even afford to pay their cell phone bill going, yeah, right, no difference between you and me. He said, as a matter of fact, he went on and he made this statement. He said, if there's any difference between you and me, it may simply be that I get up every day and have a chance to do what I love to do every day. If you want to learn anything from me, this is the best advice I can give. Now, you know what that sounds like at first blush? It sounds like just some pious platitude from a billionaire. We're the same. I just do what I love to do every day. Until you begin to investigate his life and you realize that is exactly how he has lived from the time he had no money to the time he amassed billions. In fact, what's really odd is that these peculiar strengths that he has, that these abilities, these talents that he possesses, that he loves to do, and when he does them, he gets energized by them, and when he does them so well that it just creates things that are successful. They are not the kind of things you would ever expect from someone who's like this financial mover and shaker. I mean, the financial world, right? You have to have a sense of urgency. You got to know, you got to move, you got to act. In the financial world, you need to have that mind to grasp abstract concepts and forecast them out into the future. And because it involves money, you can't trust anyone. I mean, those are the financial movers and shakers. That's the polar opposite of Warren Buffett. See, turns out this guy is incredibly patient. He has this non-urgent, long-term, give-it-time view of things. It's why he came up with this 20-year strategy. On top of that, he really doesn't grasp abstract concepts very well. He has an incredibly practical mind. He wants to analyze it and understand it. And he will only invest in things that he goes, I understand how this works. And he is incredibly trusting. In fact, he has this habit over the decades of investing in someone or something or some project or some company and then staying completely out of the way and counting on the people in it to do the job. He's like the polar opposite, but he loves being patient and giving things time. It's just who he is. He loves being really just practical and grassroots and hands-on, and he absolutely loves just trusting people to do their thing. And he gets up every day and he applies these things to his life and his business. And over the course of time, he has become one of the richest men in the world, and he is now giving his fortune away. Because on some spiritual level, he understands it is better to give than receive, and life is not measured by how much you have, but by how much you give. Now, who amongst us would look at this patient, long-term outlook? We would look at this practical, analytical nature, that we would look at this, I just trust you to do your job, and say, man, those are like life-changing strengths that can make a person become extraordinary. Few of us would, and yet somehow, for him, they are. And they don't look so mind-blowing when you hear them. But when they're lived out consistently over time, they transform an ordinary life into something extraordinary.